Sierra Club. You weren't there, but they were there. The President's Council on Sustainable Development ran from 1993 to 1999, and what they did was make sure that all policy, all federal policy, was changed in order to bring it into compliance with United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. One of the first things that they did was they gave a multi-million-dollar grant to the American Planning Association, which is a private organization. They said, hey, you guys, we want to get this into every single city and county and state in the United States. And we want to do it as a land use plan, because that's primarily how you're going to see it, as land use. They said, can you bring up a document, can you get something together for us so that we can get this into every city, county, and state in the United States? And they said, sure, no problem. And they did. It took them about 6 years. They came up with Growing Smart, legislative guidebook with model statutes for planning and the management of change. Change, change, change. That is a jargon term. Now to us, it might mean what you got in your pocket, or it might mean something that sort of, comes along through, sort of some organic movement of life. But no, change actually means something. It is a jargon term. Transformation. You will see that term. This is destruction. Think about that. Legislative guidebook with model statutes for planning and the management of change. That book, by 2002, was in every single planning department and every university in the entire country. You want to be a planner? You want to be an urban planner? You are going to be studying that book. Smart growth. Growing smart is smart growth. It's not just a design style. It is an ideology. So, okay, they got the book together, and what else did the President's Council on Sustainable Development do? They said, when people see these changes in their towns and their land use plans, they're not going to like it. They might not like it when they figure out that they're getting manipulated. So we need another book, and it's called Sustainable America, A New Consensus. And you know what consensus is. If we all got together here and we worked something out, stayed in the room all night, we got a premise or something like that, we want to work it out, see if we can get together, agree on something, everybody gets their voice heard until we can hammer something out that we all agree on. That's consensus. That's real consensus. But a new consensus, that's what your government came up with for you. A new consensus. That's right. You know what a new consensus is? Neutralizing the opposition. Neutralizing your enemy. When you go to a visioning meeting, you get invited to come on down to Dover 2023. Our Granite State future, these plans are visioning plans. You get invited if you do actually find out about these plans, because you're not necessarily going to be invited. Because why? These rooms where supposedly the community is being solicited for their opinion on these plans, these rooms are packed with shills, with government employees, with board appointees, with people who are willing to go along to get along, with the consultants themselves. They'll put you in a room like this with tables, right? They'll show you some film about how it's going to be so nice here in Manchester after we do our thing, or so great here in New Hampshire after we do our visioning plan for you, right? They cultivate and install collaborators. Who's they? Your government. I told you, the President's Council on Sustainable Development was made up of federal agencies, and with money and grants and manipulation, they are actually pressuring local government to conform to United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. Now, what do these visioning groups do? They are predicated, these are government meetings, they're put on by a consultant, but it's sponsored by your government, and these meetings do not allow dissent. I don't know about you, but to me, being a free American means the right to speak freely. That is a fundamental right in our Bill of Rights, isn't it? The right to dissent. Now, when you go into a government meeting and you are not permitted to dissent, or you may actually be seeing now armed men in your government meetings, men with guns. Now, I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about those guys in suits called our police force, who are ringing the walls across the United States in government meetings because we might say something. Visioning is predicated on the Delphi technique, which is a Rand Corporation mind control technique that came out of the 1950s post-World War II Cold War. It is a mind control technique to bring groups of people, or sometimes it could be just one person, or it could be the entire world. You bring groups of people to a predetermined outcome while giving them the impression that it was all their idea. That's what these meetings are about. Come on down. We want to hear your opinion of Dover 2023. That plan was already written and designed and completed before you walked in the room. Neutralizing the opposition. Now, for anybody who thinks I'm making this stuff up, I want you to take a look at this. This is so cute. Rescue Mission Planet Earth, a children's edition of Agenda 21. That's right. You too can be part of Agenda 21. This is by Boutros Ghali of the UN and the Children of the World. That's right. It's great. I'm sure they got their royalties from this. It's got a little workbook in the back, and it says, turning Agenda 21 into action is a big challenge for us all. Thousands of people at the United Nations and in governments are working on it. This booklet will show parents and educators how children can start to be a part of this work. Children are being indoctrinated and used. There's also something in this book that I found disturbing, many things. But right here it says, the planet groans every time it registers another birth. Children are being manipulated. So, the idea, here's how this works. Here's how they do it. Here's what happens. This is what it looks like in your town. The idea is that life in the suburbs and in the rural areas is unsustainable because we generate too many greenhouse gas emissions, right? It's that evil sprawl. That's where you live. As far as I can tell, most all of your state is sprawl, okay? This is costs too much to get public transportation out to the rural and suburban areas, and that justifies moving people out of the rural and suburban areas into the city centers, densely packing them in. Now, how are they going to do that? They use an organization. It's called ICLEI, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. ICLEI. Except they know that we're onto them now, and instead of calling themselves the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, they call themselves ICLEI, just those letters, I-C-L-E-I, Local Governments for Sustainability. Okay? You're fooled by that, right? Local Governments for Sustainability. It was created solely to implement United Nations Agenda 21 worldwide. It is a stealth organization. It is sponsored by the United Nations and completely connected to the United Nations. It says it represents 600 million people in 70 countries, and it is all across the United States. Most large population groups, most large cities are members of the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives. It's a policy and legislation group. It is a non-governmental organization, but it's made up of legislators who are elected officials, and they will not tell you that they're part of it. In fact, groups and cities that are part of it have to have someone on their staff who is effectively working with ICLEI, a staff affiliate. Now, Keene, Nashua, Portsmouth, and Wolfboro are all members of ICLEI. Dover is not a member. Is it? You sure? Well, they're not. Well, thank you. It is. Thank you. It's not on ICLEI's website. They're slipping.
Could you repeat those?
Yes, I will. Keene, Nashua, Portsmouth, and Wolfboro, and Dover, sounds like. Now, as most of the population of the country is in ICLEI cities. Excuse me. And what does ICLEI do? They monitor greenhouse gas emissions for a fee. They do climate adaptation software, which they give or sell to your municipality. Once they're doing that, they're measuring your greenhouse gas emissions. And when they measure, this is, remember, it's an inventory and control plan. They measure you, and then you need to reduce, restrict, conserve. Now, is conservation a bad thing? Absolutely not. You know, we're talking about how the rivers used to be polluted. This is a good thing. We want our environment to be clean, right? This is not about our environment. This is a hijacking of the environmental movement. This is the green mask. This is the way that it is sold to you. So ICLEI, now what ICLEI is non-governmental, but it's made up of local government officials. Now you know that you have open meeting laws, right? You know that you're supposed to be able to go to any government meeting that you want, and they're supposed to notice you and tell you that they're having them. But ICLEI does not notice you. You do not know where they meet. You don't go to their meetings. You, in fact, very likely had no idea that they existed at all. But they do. Now, one thing that happened when Obama ran for election the last time, the Obama campaign, he made a commitment, okay? He committed us. I don't think he was committed Michelle and the kids and himself to this, but he committed us to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions 80% below 1990 levels by the year 2050. 80% below 1990 levels by the year 2050. So I was like, that seems like an awful lot to me. You know, greenhouse gas emissions, how do you produce those? You use energy. What do we use energy for? Everything that we're producing, right? Industry. Everything that we produce in this country is dependent on energy. Reduce our energy, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 80% below 1990 levels by 2050. So I found a chart. I have it in my book. Okay, so I looked at 1990, take 80%. What year? What year are we at? 80% below 1990. What year do you go back to? What year did we produce 80% of 1990 levels?
1880.
Very close. 1934, which I know you enjoyed as a fabulous year. It's a year that this country will long remember as being very productive, right? During the middle, the deepest part of the Great Depression of the United States. But if you take it back, if you take us back to 1934, you know that we had a lot smaller population at that time. So if you're looking at a per capita basis, reductions on a per capita basis, you're back in the 1880s. You know, with your horse and buggy, except you can't have a horse because too many greenhouse gas emissions there. So this is communitarianism, right? This is what communitarianism is. The end justifies the means. It's all for the common good, right? Now, you know that the United States did not ratify the Kyoto Treaty, right? We didn't ratify that. But that did not stop 1,054 United States mayors, the Mayor's Climate Protection Center, from ratifying Kyoto. What was Kyoto? Anti-sprawl, that's where you live. You live on more than about 5,000 square feet of land in a single-family house, you're in sprawl, okay? Smart growth, they support smart growth. That's densely packed, urban city centers. What is smart growth? Ground floor retail, 12 feet high, built right to the edge of the sidewalk. 1, 2, 3, or more stories of residential above, either apartments or condos. Round the back, that's built right to the edge of the sidewalk. Round the back in an alley, access for 1 car or less per unit. Parking. Route in the front, you've got your bike lane. You've got 1 lane of traffic. Your high-speed rail might be out there, or at least the idea of high-speed rail. Doesn't have to exist, and neither does your station. Just the concept is enough. Your bus line, your median strip. Got to have that median strip because we're doing traffic calming, right? And then the same thing on the other side. That's what smart growth looks like. High density urban development in your city center. Ground floor retail, often vacant. Multiple floors of residential above, often bankrupt or vacant. So that's what Kyoto supports. And that's what Agenda 21 supports, okay? Anti-sprawl, smart growth, and carbon trading. That's what 1,054 United States mayors signed on to. Well, you might be wondering, did anyone in New Hampshire sign on to this? Yes, indeed. Concord, Dover, Hanover, Keene, Lebanon, Manchester, Nashua, Portsmouth, and Rochester. That's right. Now I said to myself, I wonder, this is a worldwide plan. Lots of nations have signed on to it, right? Who in the world has reduced their greenhouse emissions the most? Who do you think? No. Are you kidding? No. Latvia, clinging desperately to the edge of the former Soviet Union. Tiny Latvia, known for concrete block buildings, no heat in the winter, no cold air in the summer. What else are they known for? Their human rights abuses. Yeah, what does that tell you? You too can reduce your carbon. You too can reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. Just have total control of every aspect of your population's life. That's where we're headed. Now, for those who say that ICLEI, the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, has nothing to do with the UN, here is something that you'll also find in your town, in your planning department. It's called the Local Agenda 21 Planning Guide. It's an introduction to sustainable development planning, put out by ICLEI and the United Nations. And I think you might have a handout like this that shows this to you in detail. So here it is, it's a stealth plan, you're being manipulated, you're being told that no, this doesn't really exist, don't look behind the curtain because it's not really there, it's all your imagination. The goal is using the green mask of environmental concern, and they put the two parts of Agenda 21 together. And here's what they are. Smart growth, which is moving populations into concentrated city centers, restricting mobility, and having you be monitored, controlled, and surveilled. And the other part, which is the wildlands. Getting people out of rural and suburban areas, blocking access to wilderness roads and resources, shifting land ownership from private to public. This is the goal. As I said, by 2002, it was in every planning department. Growing Smart was in every, I don't know, did I show it to you, the cover? The thing weighs 12 pounds, so I only brought the cover. It's big. By 2002, Growing Smart was in every university and every planning department in the country, and that is when I, as a commercial real estate appraiser, working for the Department of Transportation in California, that is when I recognized that a planning revolution was going on in our country. I recognized that when I went into a planning department and said, hey, what can this person do with their land? I've got this piece of property, what can be done with it? I need to value it at the highest price that the market will bring in order to fairly compensate this person, this property owner, for losing their property against their will under eminent domain for a road project. How can I determine the value of it if I can't tell what can be done with that property? And I was finding that planning departments were all over the 9-county Bay Area saying, well, not much, can't do anything by right. That zoning doesn't matter. I was getting thrown out of planning departments all over the Bay Area. Getting pretty pissed off, saying, what are you talking about? What do you guys think your job is? Are you the gatekeepers? Are you the people who are denying people the ability to use their land? And they said, well, it's in the general plan. Now the general plan the comprehensive plan, the master plan. You will see that. That is in almost every single city and county in the United States has a master plan, a general plan, a comprehensive plan, right? These plans now are always being updated, they're being rolled out new, and they all include smart growth. Your land use element includes smart growth. Your socioeconomic element includes social equity. This is a vital element of Agenda 21. This balance between the poor and those who have more. You know, almost the poorest person in this country is wealthier than many people in other nations. Like I say, if you got more than one toilet in your house, that's one toilet too many. So here we are. We're looking at federal and state transportation dollars that are directed through metropolitan planning organizations. You've got 9 metropolitan planning organizations here in New Hampshire. Your 9 regional planning commissions, okay? Now this is a regional plan. Regional groups may be made up of elected officials, but you do not elect those regional boards. The board itself is made up of elected officials, but you do not elect that regional board. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that we're actually seeing an erasure of our jurisdictional boundaries. Because you know where you're at. We're here in the United States. We've got city, county, state, and fed. You don't like one of those people? You get rid of them if you can. But in this situation, you've got a group of an unelected board that is making policy and is directing transportation dollars. If you don't play ball with them, and what do? They want smart growth. If your city or your county is not going along with your metropolitan planning organization, they don't get the money. Now, what's the general plan anyway? It's that, you know what zoning is, right? This is different. What this is a general jurisdictional plan that shows the preferred land use for your town, where populations are going to be, where economic centers are going to be. Now, it may not look like that now, but that is sort of the wish list. That's the plan. That's the design for the way your town should look. And it's, you got invited. You probably didn't go, but you got invited to go to your comprehensive plan meetings. If you went, you would have been overwhelmingly outnumbered by people who are on those boards, consultants, the people who are brought in to actually direct this to smart growth. But when you go in to get your, let's say you want to develop your agricultural property, you think you're zoned rural residential, you want to put a house out there on your land, you go in there and your zoning doesn't match up with your general plan, with your comprehensive plan. Your zoning goes out the window. It doesn't matter if you're zoned A60, Ag 60, 1 unit per every 60 acres, and you're on a 360-acre parcel. You figure, well, I could put 6 houses on that. Oh, no, you can't, because on the general plan it says 1 unit per parcel, per legal parcel. And you'll see this all across the United States. In fact, I appraised a big ranch, a 1,400-acre ranch in Marin County recently. I went into the planning department. They're zoned A60. They can only put 1 house on it. I went and looked at a comparable property. 10 years it took them to get approvals, and they had to donate 400 acres to the open space district in order to do it. So here is that county, and that's not unusual. It just happens to be the county next to mine. Here's the cover of the Marin County General Plan. This is the comprehensive plan for Marin County. Right inside. Right inside. This is not unusual. This is the logo of United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. See that? That's what that is. Now right here, you got your money directed through your regional boards. You've got transportation and housing together for the first time. Sustainable community strategies, okay? You want money? You want transportation dollars? You better build smart growth. Priority development areas. If you don't have those here, you will. because actual identification of specific locations for development of this particular building style, which is subsidized by your tax dollars, is actually being directed. You want to build single-family residences? You're not going to get those permits, because the way it works is that population is actually being predicted to go up higher and higher and higher. It doesn't matter what town you're in. It doesn't matter if you've been losing population numbers. In the future, the feds are expecting your population to go up. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do with all those people? Where are we going to put them? We're going to put them downtown in smart growth that's subsidized with your dollars, with your money. So you got visioning projects. You got a Granite State future. 70 counties, 1.3 million people. That's all of New Hampshire. 70 counties in your Granite State future. You should take a look at that. You haven't seen that? That's right. You got a HUD grant you're looking at, $3.4 million for Sustainable Communities Initiatives. You're going to get grants from HUD, DOT, Department of Energy, EPA. This is how it happens. You get money that's given to you by federal agencies that are all have changed their policies to conform with United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. And this is how they influence the states and the local municipalities. You'll see it in your climate action plans. You'll see it as livable communities, transit-oriented development, complete streets, and transit villages. You're going to see Plan New Hampshire. Plan New Hampshire visioning for sustainable community. They're developing leadership among the citizenry. You know what? What they do is they look for people who are willing to go along to get along. They look for toadies. They look for people that they can cultivate as leaders. People who will say that they speak for you. People who will be actually your neighborhood association president. People who get brought up from the outside, brought up from your town, brought up from your neighborhood, moved into positions where they can then say that they speak for you. And you go down there and you say, hey, this person doesn't speak for me. You go to your county commissioner, you go to your city council, you say, what? That guy doesn't speak for me. And they say, well, what are you? You're just some one guy. This is the person who represents your whole neighborhood. This person represents all of Dover. This person represents half of Manchester. Who are you? This is how it works. You see public-private partnerships where you have corporations partnering with nonprofit groups that are pressuring your local government and partnering with your local government. These consultants, they're all over the place, right? Millions and millions of dollars being paid to these consultants. Dover 2023, Renaissance Downtowns in Nashua. What do? That's redevelopment, transformative projects for the triple bottom line. Think about this. You'll see it, triple bottom line, social, economic, and environmental. Remember that? You see those words. This is what you're looking at. People will tell you they've never heard of Agenda 21. It's possible that they haven't. But they are implementing it right now. They call it sustainable development, or they call it sustainable community strategies, or something like that. You know, these plans, these regional plans, are all across the United States. This is an unelected shadow government. It's sold to you as an economic driver. All of the regional plans are the same. You got one Bay Area, one valley, one vision, one region, one vision, 16 counties, 3 states, one vision, 32 counties, 4 states, one vision. That's West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio. You got, well, let's see, what do you have? You've got Hanoi Center Regional Plan 2035, Hanoi, Vietnam. All these plans are the same plan. They're the same plan. I don't care where you are, what country you're in. They're all the same plan. And we are paying millions of dollars to consultants to come up with these plans, and they're all the same plan. They just change the maps and the street names, and they get their few $100,000. And this is what it looks like. It looks like a remaking